Nick Richards has finally been traded.
Let me take you to a place where we never can be found. On the edge of Carolina where the sun come out of the ground. No nobody, just nobody, only broken hearts allowed. Right outside of Savannah, about an hour from the town.
Hello everyone, it's Everything Buzz City here, back again with another video. And a couple days ago, the Charlotte Hornets finally moved off of Nick Richards. And it was an interesting trade that left me a little bit puzzled. And I'm a little bit interested to see how it goes. So we're going to talk about it real quick. For anybody who doesn't know, Nick Richards was traded to the PHEONIX SUNS, and the Charlotte Hornets received Josh Okogie on a 2-year, $16 million contract with only this year guaranteed, which means they could cut him this offseason. And they gained 3 second-round picks, a 2026 Denver second-round pick, a 2031 Denver second-round pick, and a 2031 PHEONIX second-round pick. I believe after this draft, the PHEONIX SUNS will have no more draft capital until 2032. So that's 5 or 6 years of drafting nobody. So we're going to see how that works for the PHEONIX SUNS. And the Suns receive Nick Richards on a 2-year, $10 million contract and a 2025 Denver second-round pick. Now, losing Nick Richards is a big deal. Nick Richards is a solid backup center. I don't know if he's going to really be a starting caliber center. We're going to see how he plays with the amazing talent over there with KD, Book, Beal, all of those guys. They've been struggling though because they don't really have a true center, and Nick is a true center, although he does have his shortcomings, whether it be knowing when to drop during the pick and roll sets, rather it be his hands on catching on rolls and stuff of that nature, and sometimes being a little bit outmanned. Doesn't play to his full strength, I feel, and it takes him to get a little bit upset for him to really dominate, I'd say. He has some really great games and he has some really poor games, right? So we're going to see how he does over in Phoenix. I think for the Suns, it makes sense. You want to at least get an NBA caliber center over there, because Mason Plumlee is not an NBA caliber anymore, really. Maybe a backup who can give you 12 minutes or something like that, but he's not a starter. And Yusuf Nurkic has been an absolute failure of a trade, a guy who's not even in the rotation anymore. So they had to get somebody who would elevate them. And I think Nick Richards could possibly do that. We're going to see how it goes. But for the Charlotte Hornets, they received Josh Okogie. Now you may be wondering to yourself, who is Josh Okogie, right? You may remember him. I believe he was a top 5, top 6, top 7 pick to Minnesota a while back. He's a veteran now, and this is who he is. Josh Okogie is a 3-and-D wing. He is shooting, I believe, a career high in three-point percentage on low volume, about under 2 a game. I believe last time I checked. He also is on a team-friendly contract. Again, I said, is basically an expiring, and if he plays well enough, the team can bring him back for that second-year deal. But it's a lot. It makes sense, right? And I think he's the best small forward on this roster if Brandon Miller is a shooting guard, right? And you're trying to play him at the shooting guard position. Is definitely an upgrade over Josh Green. It's definitely an upgrade over Cody Martin, I'd say. And it opens other players up for trade. We've already heard about Nick Smith Jr. Possibly being moved. We've heard rumblings about Cody Martin getting moved as well. Josh Green, I don't think will happen, but he's also a candidate to be moved. I don't think outside of maybe 3 players, maybe 4, the Charlotte Hornets are not listening to trade offers, but everyone else is on the table this season, as this season has been an absolute disaster, and we're going to talk about how this season has gone in in another video I have planned later this week. But before we go any more into this video, please would like, comment, share the video with a friend. You already know the drill. As we try to hit 250, I believe. I know it's been a while. Haven't been much to really talk about when it comes to Charlotte basketball, so my bad, but we're back. But for the short term, when it comes to watching this team, what is the impacts that this has on this roster? I think number one, it allows Moussa Diabate to be elevated to a standard contract, right? And get backup minutes, 12, 15 minutes a game. But I also think it's going to make Charles Lee look to play more of a Mark Williams, a guy who is coming off of two best stretches of his career, a 31-13 game with 3 steals and a block, leading our team in scoring to beat the Utah Jazz, dominating inside, had 2 or 3 posters, was getting the ball on the block, drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line. Just an absolute monster offensively, which is something you didn't expect when you drafted Mark Williams. I think that's the most exciting part of his game, which is really his offensive prowess inside. Has been very intriguing to see. And in Utah, it was the best game I've seen from the Charlotte Hornets in a very long time, in probably months. And I think that is the essence of what you want out of this team, right? They were efficient. They were smart with their shots. They were playing together. They were driving. They weren't just chucking up 53s. They were playing smart. And Mark Williams was a big reason of that. And more importantly, Mark Williams had a great game alongside LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball being efficient and being willing to make those passes right inside to Mark. What else does this affect on this roster short term? I think it affects Cody Martin and Josh Green. Obviously, Cody Martin, his minutes will be affected, right? He's probably out of the door before the deadline or so, because you kind of have a logjam of the same type of players, right? You had 3-and-D wings, Josh Green, Josh Okogie, and Cody Martin. They kind of all do the same thing. And you can't have 3 or 4 of those guys on a team with 8 or 9 wins, right? So I think it's clear they're going to move off of Cody Martin. Josh Green, I can see being used as a role player off the bench. I think that's the best role for Josh Green. I don't think he's a starting caliber player. During this stretch that he's played, he's had good games, right? But he's had games where he's taken 1 or 2 shots, right? And he's not like an elite defender. He's a good defender, right? And I think that's the problem with our team is, right, we look at Josh Green, we look at Cody Martin, and we're like, oh, these players are elite defenders. No, they're really good to good defenders, right? They're the best defenders on this team, but they're not elite to the point where you need them on the court, right? They're not elite to the level that Dennis Smith Jr. was for that 2-year stretch, right? In Portland and with Charlotte, right? That's not what they are. They're not the Derek Whites. They're not the Marcus Smarts. Those type of guys. They're not the Asar Thompsons. They're not the Amen Thompsons of the NBA. They're just solid role players who can help contenders. Okay? And that's what it is, right? So there is a logjam there, so there's going to be moves in the future coming up here. But yeah, I think those are the effects. I think we're going to have to see how it goes. I said this on Twitter. I don't feel good or bad about this trade. And honestly, I don't know how it's going to go because our luck, it could go freaking terrible. He could like fall off of a cliff, get hurt. A lot of things that could happen, but hopefully it works out, man. I do understand getting the draft capital, the second round picks, but I'm more of what are you going to do with those? Because you can't just collect second round picks to trade up in the second round to draft a guy who doesn't even play for your team, James Najee, which is what we did a couple years ago, right? So we'll see what they do. We'll see. But really soon, the Charlotte Hornets at some point need to start competing for a playoff push. Like every year, this is ridiculous. But anyways, I'm Everything But City here. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend if you enjoyed the video. I'll be back in the week with more content. Peace out, guys.